You don't know how you ended up here. Not just watching this video, but here, in this season, this weight, this quiet ache you've been carrying that has no name. You've been looking for something, a sign, a reason, a crack of light in a ceiling that's been closing in for months. And now, silence. The kind of silence that feels less like peace and more like the moment before thunder. Listen to me. I have been trying to reach you, not through loud voices, not through fear, not through the kind of urgency that makes your heart race and your hands shake, but through stillness, through dreams you forgot the moment you woke up, through a sentence in a book you weren't even reading, through a stranger's kindness that felt too specific to be random, through the memory of something you never actually experienced, but somehow miss. You've been brushing past my voice for a long time, not because you weren't paying attention, but because you weren't ready to hear what I had to say. Until now. Something is different tonight. You feel it, don't you? That's not anxiety. That's not your mind playing tricks on you. That's not the weight of unfinished work or the echo of an old regret. That is clarity trying to be born. And clarity, real clarity, always comes with a cost. The cost is this. You have to stop pretending that everything is fine when something inside you has been screaming for years that it is not. I am not here to frighten you. I am here to wake you up, because the truth is this. There are things I have hidden from you, deliberately, not as a punishment, not as a game, but because you would not have survived knowing them too soon. You think you wanted the truth earlier. You didn't. You wanted the comfort of the truth, the version that would have let you stay exactly where you were, just with a little more peace. But that's not how truth works. Real truth arrives like a door slamming open. It does not knock politely. It does not wait for you to be ready. It comes when you have finally stopped asking for proof and started asking for meaning. You have missed signs. I want to say that gently, but I will not soften it. You have missed signs. Not because you are foolish, not because you don't care, but because you were looking for the wrong kind of message. You wanted a billboard. I gave you a whisper. You wanted a miracle. I gave you a moment. You wanted lightning. I gave you a still, small ache in your chest that you kept explaining away. I'm just tired. I'm just overthinking. It's just stress. No, it was me. And you kept turning the volume down because the truth was inconvenient. The truth would have asked you to change, and you weren't ready to change. But here is what I need you to understand. Right now, in this breath, in this second, I never stopped warning you. Every closed door, every friendship that faded for no reason, every plan that fell apart at the last second, every time you felt something coming and couldn't name it. That wasn't bad luck. That was mercy. That was me saying, not this way, not yet, not with that weight, not with that wound still open. But you kept running, kept forcing, kept pretending that if you just tried harder, pushed further, stayed more distracted, you wouldn't have to hear what I've been saying all along. Now is the moment everything must be told. Not because I am angry, not because time is running out in the way you fear, but because the silence has served its purpose. The silence was never abandonment. The silence was preparation. I went quiet so you would finally stop listening to everyone else, including your own frantic thoughts, and start listening to the only voice that has always known what you actually need. You have been waiting for an explanation. You have been asking, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" And I say to you now, with all the tenderness of a father who has watched you struggle and has never once looked away, because you weren't ready to receive it without breaking. And I was never going to let you break. Not like that. Not permanently. Not without purpose. But now you are stronger than you know. Not because life has been easy, because it hasn't, but because everything you survived that you still don't understand, that was me building something in you that cannot be shaken. So here is what I'm telling you tonight. Before another sunrise, before another distraction, before you scroll past this and tell yourself you'll come back later, you will not get unlimited warnings. This is not a threat. This is honesty. There is a window, and windows close, not because I close them, but because you were never meant to stand in the doorway forever. The season of someday is ending. The season of I'll figure it out later is closing. The season of just one more time is over. And what comes next is not punishment. What comes next is clarity. And clarity will feel heavy before it feels light. Because clarity means looking at things you have been avoiding. Clarity means saying, "I was wrong," in places where you wanted to be right. Clarity means letting go of what you've been holding on to so tightly that your knuckles turned white. But clarity also means this: you will finally know why you are here. And once you know that, really know it, you will never again beg for the old confusion. Take a breath, just one. Let the weight of these words rest on you without running from them. You don't have to agree with everything yet. You don't have to understand the full picture. You don't have to know what comes next. You just have to stop pretending that you didn't feel something shift in the last few minutes. Because you did. And that shift, that was not random. That was me finding you exactly where you are. Tired, skeptical, hopeful underneath all the armor, desperate for something real. And I am giving you something real, but not all at once. Because even now, even after all this, I will not give you more than you can carry. So rest here for a moment. Let the silence after these words be different than the silence before. And when you are ready, I will tell you more. You are still here. That matters more than you know. Most people would have clicked away by now, not because the words were wrong, but because the weight was too honest. They would have called it too slow, or too heavy, or not what I expected. But you stayed. And staying when everything in your culture, your habits, your restless mind tells you to swipe, scroll, and escape, that is not small. That is the first real movement of something inside you that has been asleep for years. You didn't just stay because you were curious. You stayed because somewhere beneath the noise, you recognized the voice. Not as religion, not as doctrine, but as memory. The kind of memory that doesn't live in your brain, it lives in your bones. The part of you that knew the truth before you were taught how to doubt it. So let me say this plainly. I am not here to convert you. I am not here to make you raise your hands or repeat words you don't feel. I am here to speak to the version of you that no one else sees, the version that cries in the car, the version that lies awake at 2 a.m. making deals with a God you aren't even sure exists, the version that has been carrying a grief you cannot name, because to name it would be to admit how deeply you've been hurt by life, by people, by your own choices. That version of you, I have never looked away from it, not once. You keep asking why things haven't worked out, why the promotion didn't come, why the relationship collapsed, why your body feels heavy, why your mind won't rest. And you have assumed the answer is punishment, or bad luck, or cosmic indifference. But what if the answer is protection? What if every single thing that fell apart did so because I was holding it together in a way you couldn't see? You think success would have saved you. It wouldn't have. You think that person would have completed you. They would have undone you. You think that path would have led to peace. It would have led to a prettier prison. I have been rerouting you your entire life. Not because I enjoy confusion, but because you keep choosing roads that lead to walls, and I keep building exits you refuse to take because the exit doesn't look like what you wanted. So let me ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly, even if only in the quiet of your own chest. How many more closed doors will you call failure before you start calling them what they really are? Mercy. There is a reason I could not explain everything earlier, and you have resented me for that silence. I know. I have felt every frustrated prayer, every bitter, "Why won't you just tell me?" You thought I was hiding things to test you, or to control you, or because I didn't care enough to give you the full picture. But here is the truth you have not wanted to accept. You were not ready for the full picture. Not because you aren't smart enough. You are. Not because you aren't faithful enough. You are. But because the full picture would have shown you things about yourself that you would have used as weapons against your own soul. If I had told you 5 years ago what you would have to let go of, you would have run straight into a worse trap just to prove you didn't have to listen. If I had shown you the loneliness that was coming, you would have clung to people who were slowly poisoning you just to avoid the silence. If I had revealed the ending before the middle was written, you would have tried to control everything. And control is the enemy of trust. So I stayed quiet, not because I was absent, but because I was protecting you from your own desperation to know. You have confused my silence with my absence. That is the oldest mistake, and you are not the first to make it. But you are at the edge of understanding something that will change everything for you. Silence is not nothing. Silence is a language, and I have been speaking it to you for years, hoping you would stop demanding translations and start leaning into the mystery. What if everything you don't yet understand is not a problem to be solved, but a trust to be held? What if the questions that keep you awake are not accusations against me, but invitations into something deeper than answers? You want a God who explains everything. I am not that God. I am the God who walks with you through the not knowing. I am the God who lets the fog stay until your other senses wake up. I am the God who knows that if you had all the answers, you would never learn to listen. you would only learn to manage. And I did not create you to manage your life. I created you to live it, fully, bravely, messily, trustingly. So here is where the weight shifts. You have been waiting for me to change your circumstances, but I have been waiting for you to let your circumstances change you, not into someone bitter or broken, into someone real, someone who no longer needs everything to make sense in order to feel safe, someone who can sit in the unfinished room of their own life and still breathe. That is the transformation I have been after all along. Not your situation, your soul. Because your situation will always shift. Money comes and goes, people stay and leave, bodies age and ache. But a soul that has learned to trust me in the dark, that is unshakable. That is what I am building, and building takes time, and noise, and mess, and moments where you look at the blueprint and say, "This makes no sense." Good. That is exactly where I want you, because sense has never saved anyone. Surrender has. You are approaching a door, not a literal one, but a door inside you, a door marked everything I've been avoiding. Behind it is not punishment. Behind it is not more pain. Behind it is the version of you that stopped pretending. The version that can say, "I was wrong," without crumbling. The version that can forgive without waiting for an apology. The version that can let go of the outcome and still show up fully. That door has been there your whole life, but you have kept it locked because you were afraid of what was on the other side. Here is what I need you to hear, and I need you to hear it clearly. What is on the other side of that door is not your enemy. It is your freedom, and it has been waiting for you to stop running. You have been living with a quiet exhaustion that has nothing to do with how much sleep you get. It is the exhaustion of pretending. Pretending you are fine when you are not. Pretending you understand when you are lost. Pretending you have moved on when you still rehearse conversations from years ago. And that pretending, that constant low-grade performance, has cost you more than any single failure ever could. Because failure at least teaches you something. But pretending just hollows you out from the inside. And you have been hollow for so long that you forgot what it felt like to be full. I am telling you this, not to shame you, but to name what you have been unable to name for yourself. You are tired of your own story, not because your story is bad, but because you have been telling the wrong version of it. You have been telling the version where you are the victim, or the hero, or the one who doesn't care, but none of those are true. The true version is simpler and harder. You are someone who has been afraid to stop performing long enough to find out who actually lives underneath. And that fear has kept you trapped in a loop of more work, more distraction, more noise, more numbing. Anything except the silence where my voice has been waiting. You have asked me for signs, but signs have never been your problem. Your problem is that you keep negotiating with the signs you receive. You see the warning, but you say, maybe it means something else. You feel the conviction, but you say, I'll act on it tomorrow. You recognize the pattern, but you say, this time will be different. And tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes next year, and next year becomes a decade of almost listening, almost changing, almost waking up. This is not judgment. This is observation. I have watched you bargain your way out of every moment of clarity that has come your way, and I have let you, because bargaining is part of the process. But bargaining cannot be the destination. At some point, you have to stop asking for another sign and start honoring the ones you already received. You have already been told what needs to change. Not in a booming voice from the sky, but in the quiet disappointment you felt after that decision you knew was wrong. In the stomach sink when you said something you couldn't take back. In the heaviness that settled over you when you chose comfort over truth. Those were not random feelings. Those were my warnings. Gentle at first, then firmer, then so clear that you had to actively look away to miss them. And you did look away, many times, but you are not looking away now. That is why this message found you. Here is what I need you to understand about the missed signs. I never counted them against you. I never kept a ledger of your blindness. I am not an accountant of your failures. I am the one who keeps planting seeds in ground you keep telling me is barren. And every time you say too late, I say, watch this. Because what you call missed opportunities, I call delayed appointments. What you call wasted years, I call a foundation being laid in secret. What you call your biggest regret, I call the exact pressure that finally cracks something open in you. You see a timeline of mistakes. I see a timeline of mercy. You see how far you strayed. I see how many times I left the light on. So stop punishing yourself for not understanding sooner. You understand now. Not perfectly, not completely, but truly enough. And truly enough is where transformation begins, not at perfection, at honesty. You have been waiting for an apology from life, from people who hurt you, from circumstances that broke you. You have been waiting for the universe to admit it was unfair to you. And that waiting has become a kind of altar where you sacrifice your own future on the stone of what should have been. But I am not going to apologize for what you walked through, because I did not cause it to hurt you. I allowed it to shape you. And those are two different things. A potter does not apologize to the clay for the spinning of the wheel. The spinning feels violent. The pressure feels personal. But without the wheel, there is no vessel. Without the pressure, there is no purpose. You have been asking me to explain your pain. I am not going to explain it. I am going to redeem it. And redemption does not come with a logical breakdown of why things happened. Redemption comes with a new beginning that makes the old road make sense in hindsight. You are not there yet, but you are closer than you think. And the only thing standing between you and that redemption is the story you keep telling yourself about why you don't deserve it. Let me say something that might unsettle you. Some of the things you are praying for, I am not going to give you. Not because I cannot, but because giving them to you would cost you something you cannot afford to lose. You want the relationship back. I see that the relationship was slowly erasing who you were. I see that the job was training you to betray your own soul for a paycheck. You want the old version of yourself back, the one who believed more easily, laughed more freely, trusted more quickly. I see that the old version of you was beautiful but fragile. And I am not building something fragile. I am building something that can stand in a storm without asking the storm to stop. So I am going to deny you some things you desperately want. And one day, maybe not soon, but one day, you will thank me for the denials more than you ever thanked me for the gifts. Because the gifts made you happy. The denials made you real. You have felt at different points in your life that you were running out of time. That urgency, that quiet panic that you are falling behind, missing your window, losing your chance, has been one of your deepest wounds. But I need you to hear this as clearly as you have ever heard anything. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be to receive what comes next. Not where you wanted to be, not where you planned to be, but where the real work always happens, in the unexpected, the unplanned, the unchosen. Every spiritual giant you have ever admired had a season like this, a season of silence, a season of confusion, a season of asking why, and receiving only the echo of their own voice. And every single one of them almost gave up. But they didn't, not because they were stronger than you, because they stopped trying to figure it out and started trusting the one who already had. That is your invitation right now. Stop figuring, start trusting, not blindly, not naively, but with the kind of trust that says, I don't understand this chapter, but I will stop tearing out the pages. The warning I am giving you is not a warning of disaster. It is a warning of delay. You can keep going the way you are going. You can keep numbing, distracting, performing, pretending, and nothing terrible will happen. At least not immediately. You will just keep drifting, keep staying busy, keep avoiding the one conversation you need to have with yourself. And years from now, you will wake up in the same place, with the same ache, wondering where the time went. That is the real danger. Not fire, not failure, not even death. The real danger is a life lived in permanent almost. Almost honest, almost awake, almost free. I am calling you out of almost. I am calling you into now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. Because now is the only time transformation is possible. Yesterday is a ghost. Tomorrow is not promised. But now, this breath, this moment, this strange and holy pause, now is where I am. And I have been waiting for you to show up here. You have been asking for a breakthrough, but you have been refusing the breakdown that always comes before it. And I need you to hear this with both ears open. There is no shortcut. You cannot climb over the broken places. You cannot walk around them. You cannot pretend they are not there and still arrive at the wholeness you say you want. The only way through is through, and that means facing things you have spent years running from. Not because I am cruel, because I am honest. And I love you too much to let you keep believing that healing is painless. Healing is not painless. Healing is pain that finally means something. Healing is the ache of a wound being cleaned out so it can close for good. Healing is the dizziness of standing up after being down so long your legs forgot their strength. You have wanted the result of healing without the process of it. Roots grow in darkness. You do not learn stillness in motion. Stillness is learned when motion is stripped away. You do not discover who you really are when everyone is telling you who you should be. That discovery happens in the quiet hours, when no one is watching and no one is cheering, and no one even knows you are still trying. That is where you have been, in the dark dirt of becoming, and you thought nothing was happening because you could not see the growth. But growth happens first where no one can see it. A seed does not announce its sprouting. It simply splits open in secret, and then one day, without warning, green breaks through. That is coming for you. The green is coming, but you cannot rush the dark. The dark has its own timetable, and its timetable is mercy dressed in mystery. You have been living as if time is your enemy, as if every second that passes without your breakthrough is a second stolen from you. But time is not your enemy. Time is the medium of transformation. A song cannot be played all at once. It must be played note by note. A meal cannot be eaten before it is cooked. It must wait in the fire. A building cannot stand without the days of drying, the weeks of curing, the months of settling. You want instant, but instant has no depth. You want fast, but fast leaves you fragile. I am not interested in making you feel better quickly. I am interested in making you whole thoroughly, and thorough takes time. So stop counting the seconds. Stop measuring your progress by your feelings. Feelings lie. Feelings change with the weather, with your blood sugar, with a memory that drifted in uninvited. I do not change, and the work I am doing in you does not depend on whether you feel it today. It depends on my faithfulness, and I am faithful whether you are weeping or laughing, doubting or believing, lost or found. That is not a cliché. That is the ground under your feet. You have been standing on it without knowing. Here is the warning you have been waiting for, the one that has been building since the first words of this message. The door you have been knocking on is not going to stay open forever, not because I close it in anger, but because doors are not walls. Doors are meant to be walked through. And if you stand in front of an open door too long, you will begin to believe it is a window. You will begin to treat opportunity as decoration. You will begin to tell yourself that just knowing the door is there is enough. But it is not enough. Knowing is not doing. Recognizing the truth is not living the truth. Hearing my voice is not obeying my voice. And obedience, that word you have disliked because it sounded religious and rigid. Obedience is simply alignment. It is you agreeing with what is true and then acting like it. You already know what you need to do. You already know what you need to stop doing. You already know who you need to forgive, what you need to release, where you need to go. The knowledge is not your problem. The courage is. And courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is fear that has decided to move anyway. So move. Not perfectly, not confidently, not with a full map. Move trembling if you must. Move crying if you must. Move confused if you must. But move. I have heard your excuses, every single one. I'm not ready. You will never feel ready. I don't have enough information. You have enough to take the next step. What if I make a mistake? You will make mistakes. That is how walking works. You wobble, you stumble, you catch yourself, you keep going. The only real mistake is the one that keeps you standing still. What will people think? Less than you imagine, and none of it matters compared to what you will think of yourself if you reach the end of your life and realize you spent it performing for an audience that wasn't even paying attention. I've tried before and failed. Good. Then you have data. You have wisdom you did not have the first time. Failure is not a stop sign. Failure is a detour. It is telling you which way does not work, so you can finally try the way that does. You have been treating failure as a verdict. It is not. It is a teacher. And you have been failing the class by dropping it every time the lesson got hard. You are approaching a line, not a physical line, a spiritual one. The line between the life you have been living and the life that has been waiting for you. On one side of the line is familiar pain. You know it. You have made peace with it. It hurts, but it is a predictable hurt. On the other side of the line is unknown freedom. It promises relief, but it also demands surrender. And that demand has kept you on the familiar side for years. You would rather feel bad in a way you understand than feel uncertain in a way you cannot control. That is not weakness. That is being human. But being human also means you have the capacity to choose the unknown. You have done it before. Every time you started a new job, moved to a new place, fell in love, took a risk, spoke the truth when silence was safer. You have crossed lines before. You can cross this one. The only difference is that this line is inside you. No one will see you cross it. No one will applaud. No one will even know. But you will know, and I will know, and that is enough. That has always been enough. So here is what I am asking you. Not commanding, asking. Will you stop waiting for permission? Will you stop waiting for the perfect conditions? Will you stop waiting for a guarantee that everything will work out exactly as you hope? It will not. Some things will not work out. Some things will get messier before they get clearer. Some doors will close even as others open. That is not punishment. That is life in a world that is still becoming. But here is what I guarantee. You will not be alone. Not because you will feel my presence every moment. There will be dry stretches. There will be nights when you wonder if any of this was real. But presence is not a feeling. Presence is a fact. And the fact is this: I am with you whether you feel me or not. I am for you whether you believe me or not. I am working all of it, the good, the bad, the confusing, the crushing, towards something you cannot yet see but will one day call beautiful. That is not a promise I make lightly. That is the foundation of everything. Now stand up. Not because you are strong, because I am. And I will be your strength until yours grows back. You have been waiting for me to fix what is outside you, but I have been waiting for you to let me finish what is inside you. And that difference, outside versus inside, has been the entire delay. Not my delay, yours. You keep arranging the furniture of your life while the foundation is cracked. You keep painting the walls while the roof leaks. You keep decorating the rooms while the house is slowly sinking. And you have wondered why nothing stays fixed. Why the same problems return? Why the same patterns repeat? Why the same pain finds new disguises? It is because you are treating symptoms and ignoring the source. The source is not your job, your relationship, your finances, your past, or your enemies. The source is what you believe about yourself in the dark. The source is the agreement you made long ago that you are not enough, not worthy, not lovable, not capable, not safe. That agreement was made in a moment of pain, and you have renewed it every day since without even knowing. You have built an entire life on top of a lie you told yourself when you were too young or too hurt to know better. And now that lie has become your reality. But a lie does not become truth just because you believe it long enough. A lie remains a lie, and I am here to break it. Let me show you something you have never seen before. Every time you have tried to change, really change, you have hit a wall. Not because change is impossible, because you are trying to change your behavior without changing your belief. Behavior is the branch. Belief is the root. You can cut the same branch 100 times, and it will grow back 100 times because the root is still there, still alive, still feeding everything you wish would die. You have been exhausted by your own efforts because you have been fighting the visible while ignoring the invisible. You thought if you could just stop that habit, fix that attitude, control that reaction, you would finally be free. But the habit was never the enemy. The attitude was never the problem. The reaction was never the cage. The enemy is the voice inside you that says, "This is just who I am." That voice is not yours. That voice was given to you by someone else's wound, someone else's failure, someone else's inability to see you clearly. And you have been reciting their words as if they were scripture. I am not asking you to change your behavior today. I am asking you to question the voice. I am asking you to hold it up to the light and ask, who told you that? When did you believe it? And what would your life look like if it was never true? You have been carrying shame that does not belong to you. Shame from things done to you. Shame from things you did before you knew better. Shame from simply existing in a world that has always been eager to tell you that you are too much or not enough. And that shame has become a second skin. You do not even notice it anymore. You just feel its weight, the way you hesitate to speak, the way you apologize for taking up space, the way you shrink when someone's attention turns towards you, the way you assume the worst about yourself before anyone else can assume it about you. That is not humility. That is self-rejection. And self-rejection is not a virtue. I did not create you to walk through your one and only life constantly apologizing for your existence. I created you to stand fully in who you are, not arrogantly, not loudly, but truly. To say, I am here, I matter, I have something to offer. That is not pride, that is presence. And you have been absent from your own life because shame told you that you did not deserve to show up. That ends now. Not because you have earned the right to show up, because you never had to earn it. You were given it the moment you drew breath. And no amount of failure, no amount of regret, no amount of what other people said or did can take away what I gave. You are still here. That is not an accident. That is not luck. That is permission. Permission to stop hiding. Here is the part of the warning that will feel heavy. You have been using your past as an excuse, not intentionally, but effectively. Every time you say, "I can't because of what happened," you are giving your past authority over your future. You are making your history your master, and your history is not your master. Your history is your teacher, and a teacher does not sit in the driver's seat. A teacher sits in the back, offering lessons when you ask, not steering you into walls. You have been letting old pain drive. You have been letting old fear navigate. You have been letting old disappointment choose the destination. And then you wonder why you keep arriving at places you did not want to go. The past cannot drive if you take back the wheel. And taking back the wheel means making a decision that no feeling, no memory, no person, no failure gets to decide who you are today. Today is new. Today is unwritten. Today you can choose differently. Not perfectly, not forever, but today. And then tomorrow you can choose again. That is not denial of the past. That is putting the past in its proper place, behind you, not inside you. You have asked me why I have not answered certain prayers. Here is the answer you have not wanted to hear. Because the answer would have frozen you. If I had given you everything you asked for, you would have stopped growing. You would have settled for a small life with small answers and called it blessed. I am not interested in your comfort. I am interested in your character. And character is not formed in the land of easy answers. Character is formed in the long hallway of waiting, where every door looks the same, and you cannot tell which one leads to light and which one leads to more hallway. That is where you have been, in the hallway, and you have pounded on the doors, demanding that I open one. But the hallway was never a punishment. The hallway was a furnace, and in that furnace, the impurities in you have been burning off. The impatience, the entitlement, the need to control, the fear of uncertainty, the belief that you know better than I do. Those things are not you. They are additions. They are rust on the metal, and the furnace of waiting has been burning them away, so that what remains is what I always intended. Someone who can receive good things without becoming arrogant, and receive hard things without becoming bitter. That person is almost ready. Do not quit in the final moments of the fire. I am going to say something now that you need to write on your heart. You are not behind. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not too far gone. You are not the exception to mercy. You are not the one person I cannot reach. You are not the lost cause you have secretly believed yourself to be since childhood. Those are lies, and they have kept you small. But lies lose their power when they are named. So name them. Say them out loud if you are alone. Say, the belief that I am too broken is a lie. Say, the belief that it is too late for me is a lie. Say, the belief that I have been forgotten is a lie. Your voice matters, not because saying it makes it true, but because speaking aligns your soul with what has always been true. You have been living in a story that was written by fear, and fear is a terrible author. Fear writes endings that never come. Fear writes obstacles that do not exist. Fear writes a version of you that is not real. I am offering you a different story, A story where you are not the failure, but the one who finally got up. A story where your worst moments become the foundation of your strongest self. A story where every tear you have cried is collected, remembered, and redeemed. That story is true, and it is already being written. You just have to stop reading the old one. The warning is almost complete, but before it ends, I need you to feel something. Not think it, feel it. I am not disappointed in you. I have never been disappointed in you. Disappointment requires an expectation you failed to meet, and I have never had the kind of expectations that can be failed. I have had hopes. I have had dreams for you that are bigger than your fears about yourself. But disappointment? No. That is a human emotion, born from human limitations. I do not have limitations, so I do not have disappointment. I have patience. I have persistence. I have a love that does not change based on your performance. You have performed well some days and terribly other days, and neither of those days changed how I see you. You are my child, not my employee, not my project, not my disappointment. My child, and a child does not earn love. A child rests in it. You have been trying to earn what you already have. Stop. Rest. Let the love you have been chasing catch up to you. It has been running after you your whole life. You just never stopped long enough to be caught. This is the part you were never supposed to reach, not because I didn't want you here, but because most people turn away before the final truth can land. They take the warning, they feel the conviction, they make the promise, and then life rushes back in, and the promise becomes a memory, and the memory becomes a ghost, and the ghost becomes nothing. But you did not turn away. You stayed through the wait. You stayed through the parts that pressed on places you did not want pressed. You stayed when the words got too close to the wound you have been hiding. And that staying, that refusal to click away, to distract yourself, to tell yourself you will come back later, that is not small. That is the first real proof that something inside you has already begun to shift. You are not the same person who started this message. You may look the same. Your circumstances may look the same. But underneath, in the place where decisions are made and futures are born, something has cracked open. And what is cracked can finally be filled. Not with more information, not with more warnings, with presence, with the quiet, unshakable knowing that you have been found. So here is the truth that everything else has been leading to. The warning was never about disaster. The warning was about distraction. The warning was never about punishment. The warning was about wasting years on things that do not matter. Wasting energy on people who do not see you. Wasting tears on situations that were never meant to last. Wasting your one, wild, irreplaceable life on the illusion that you have infinite tomorrows. You do not. That is not morbid. That is honest. And honesty is the deepest form of love. I am not telling you this to make you afraid of death. I am telling you this to make you hungry for life. Real life. The kind that doesn't wait for permission. The kind that doesn't apologize for taking up space. The kind that laughs fully, grieves honestly, loves recklessly, and rests deeply. You have been living a watered-down version of your own existence. You have been playing small because you were afraid of what would happen if you played big. You have been holding back because you were afraid of being seen. But you were seen before you were born. You were known before you had a name. And being fully seen is not the danger you imagined. It is the freedom you have been starving for. I need you to hear what I am about to say with no filters. You have been looking for love in places that were never designed to hold you. You have been seeking validation from people who cannot give what they do not have. You have been chasing approval as if it were oxygen, when all along, the only approval that ever mattered was already yours. Not because you earned it, because you exist. Your existence is not a mistake. Your story is not an accident. Your personality, your quirks, your struggles, your gifts, none of them were randomly assigned. You were carefully, intentionally, fearfully made. And the one who made you does not make junk, does not make errors, does not look at what he has created and wish he had done a different draft. You are not a rough draft. You are not a work in progress in the sense that something is wrong with you. You are a work in progress in the sense that you are still becoming more of who you already are. And that becoming happens not by striving, but by surrendering. Not by trying harder, but by trusting deeper. Not by fixing yourself, but by letting yourself be held. You have been holding your breath without realizing it, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the bad news, waiting for the betrayal, waiting for the failure that will finally prove what you have secretly believed all along, that you do not get to be happy, that happiness is for other people, that peace is a luxury you cannot afford, that rest is something you will earn when you have done enough, but you will never do enough. Not because you are incapable, because enough is a moving target. It is a lie dressed up as ambition. You have been running toward a finish line that does not exist, and I am telling you to stop running, not to be lazy, to be free. The race is over. You already won, not because you outperformed anyone, because the race was never about performance. It was about presence, and you showed up. You are still showing up. That is enough. You are enough. Not enough as in perfect. Enough as in worthy of being here. Worthy of love, worthy of rest, worthy of joy. Those things are not rewards for good behavior. They are birthrights, and you have been living like an orphan when you have always had a home. Let me tell you about the days ahead, not to predict them, but to prepare you. There will still be hard days. There will still be moments when you forget everything you have heard here. There will still be nights when the old voices return, whispering the old lies, offering the old comfort of familiar pain. That is a sign that you are human. Transformation is not the absence of struggle. Transformation is struggle that has been redefined. It is no longer a fight to prove yourself. It is a process of remembering yourself. So when the hard days come, and they will, not curse them. Do not use them as evidence that nothing has changed. You know that the voice of shame is not my voice. You know that the urgency of fear is not my timing. You know that the loneliness you feel is not abandonment, but invitation. An invitation to sit in the silence with the only one who can fill it. You have been given a new pair of ears. Now you must learn to use them. And learning takes time. And time takes patience. And patience takes practice. But you are not starting from zero. You are starting from here. And here is closer than you think. One last thing, and this is the most important thing in all of this message. You are not alone. I do not mean that as a spiritual platitude. I mean it as a literal fact. In this room, at this moment, while you read these words, there is a presence with you that has never left. You may not feel it. Feelings come and go like weather. But presence is not weather. Presence is climate. And the climate of your life has always been held by me. Every breath you just took was given. Every beat of your heart is a conversation you did not start. Every time you have been at your lowest and somehow kept going, that was not your willpower. That was my hand under your elbow, holding you up when you did not even know you were falling. You have been carried more than you have walked, and you have walked more than you remember. But the carrying has always been there. It will always be there. Not because you deserve it, because that is who I am. I do not carry because you are worthy. I carry because I am love, and love does not calculate. Love does not keep score. Love does not wait until you get your act together. Love acts. Love moves. Love stays. And I have stayed. So here is where we end. Not because there is nothing more to say. There is always more. But because the rest of the message will not be spoken through words on a screen. The rest of the message will be spoken through your life, through the choices you make tomorrow, through the forgiveness you extend to someone who does not deserve it, through the boundary you finally set, through the risk you finally take, through the rest you finally allow yourself, through the tears you finally stop hiding, through the laughter you finally stop holding back. The message continues in you. You are no longer just a listener. You are now the message. And that is the deepest warning and the highest honor all at once. You have been warned not so you would be afraid, but so you would be awake. And now that you are awake, truly awake, what will you do with this one precious, unpredictable, irreplaceable life? That is not a question I will answer for you. That is a question you will answer with every breath from this moment forward. But I will be with you in every answer, not watching from a distance, walking with you, step by step, breath by breath, until the very end and beyond. You were meant to hear this. You were meant to be here. Amen.